Hey everybody, what's going on? Dr. Chad Woolner here.
And Dr. Buddy Allen.
And this is episode 17 of the Health Fundamentals Podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing the number one secret to improving brain function. So let's get started. You're listening to the Health Fundamentals Podcast. I'm Dr. Chad Woolner.
And I'm Dr. Buddy Allen. And this show is about giving you the simple but powerful cutting-edge tools you need to change your health and your life.
So sit back and enjoy the show as we show you the path to your best life down to a science. So hey everybody, hope you're having an awesome day. Today we're going to be talking about improving brain function. This is a really important subject. I don't think there could be perhaps any more important in terms of our health because everything starts with the brain, right?
You bet.
So to set the stage for this, it wasn't that long ago that the best and the brightest in the realms of healthcare and science believed and taught that the brain was very rigid in the sense that you can't really change it all that much. You're born with it. You're born with the brain cells you're born with, and that if something happens, if you have damage to the brain, tough luck. You're kind of out of options. It's not going to change all that much. And yet, what is the latest science telling us?
Later, the more recent science basically is telling us our brains are more plastic in nature, meaning that we can recreate pathways that maybe have been damaged or disconnected, if you will. We can continually learn and we can improve. And the reason the study that we're sharing is kind of exciting and important is people, sometimes there are genetic reasons why people have dementia and or Alzheimer's or other conditions, right? So if you know that there's a little predisposition within your family tree, wouldn't it be nice to know that there are things that you could do
on a preventative basis?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of goes to another subject that we could probably dive deep into, but we're not going to, for the sake of this episode, this concept, it's relatively new, is this idea of what they call epigenetics.
Yes.
Old school science taught us, that your genes were your destiny. That you were either born with bad genes or born with good genes. And there's the old joke that we've heard before, that the patient who's overweight goes to the doctor and says, well, diabetes runs in my family. And the doctor's snarky response back is, well, no, the problem is no one runs in your family, And so, not to make light of diabetes or obesity or anything like that. But the idea is old school science said, these are your genes. This is what you were given. Tough luck. You've got some bad ones. It's kind of like, Russian roulette, so to speak, genetic Russian roulette.
If you're lucky, you got a good cocktail.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You were dealt a good hand in terms of your genes. But actually what the latest research is showing us in the realm of what they call epigenetics, the way I describe it to patients is, and this may not be the most accurate, but at least it makes sense to me, is think of it like a graphic equalizer on a stereo. If you've got a fancy equalizer where you can shift and change all the different frequencies and whatnot. That's to a large extent how our genes are now being described, is with epigenetics. Based off of environmental factors, we can turn certain genes up, we can turn certain genes down, or the expression of those genes we can turn up, we can turn down, we can turn on, and we can turn off certain ones. And so there's a lot of different things that we can do proactively to change the expression of our DNA, of who it is, who we are at our very essence, right?
Yep.
So what does this study say? And with that, we'll kind of do the drum roll. What's the number one secret to improving brain function according to this study?
According to this study, it is exercise, and not just exercise, but moderate exercise.
Moderate.
All right. So,
and I think moderate, I would use the term interchangeable with it, consistent exercise.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that kind of goes later in the study is, what they're saying is a single episode or a single exercise routine of moderate exercise can have immediate effects on your brain, on your memory, on your ability to recall. And what they're saying is over time, they postulate or expect that this will make dramatic differences long-term in your mental clarity, your mental acuteness, I guess, if you will. So
staying sharp.
Yeah. That's it.
This was published in the Journal of Neuropsychological, the The Journal of
International
Journal of the Neuropsychological Society.
Correct.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is a big mouthful.
You're going to need a lot of brain power just to be able to remember where the study was
You bet.
done and published. So continue.
So continuing, essentially, like, again, we always try to simplify stuff here, but exercise, and especially moderate exercise, increases something called BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is like Miracle-Gro for the brain.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're trying to grow your mind and learn, and you need as much of this BDNF as you can. So exercise is going to be huge help.
Absolutely. And one step further, if you want to repair the brain, if the brain has been injured, if the brain has been damaged, what they show is that if you can increase BDNF levels, you can help repair the brain, which is interesting because what they're saying is old school protocols and science said that the best approach for people who have had concussions is to rest for a long period of time. What they're saying now is that's not the case. They're saying get exercising as quickly as possible because that's going to help promote BDNF. And that's the cool thing about BDNF is that while there are certain things you can take supplemental wise that will help boost BDNF levels, and we can talk about that in a minute, you don't have to take those things. You can exercise, and that's a very natural response to exercise. One of the many health benefits associated with exercise, yet again, one more reason to exercise, is that your body will produce this substance, this chemical called BDNF. And so a very, very powerful therapy. I mean, if we're talking about it that way, exercise is a very powerful therapy that is, I still think, highly underutilized for people looking to help heal their brain or make improvements to their brain function or help prevent a lot of these common problems.
A little side note to this is for many individuals, and I would say at one time for even myself, exercise can sometimes feel like a 4-letter word, right? It's not fun. It's hard.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, that's not me. I don't want to do that. But I would have to just say, even just from things that I've learned about myself over the last several years is, it doesn't always have to be super traditional exercise, but find things that get you out, get you active, things that you enjoy.
Yep.
And more importantly, people that you enjoy them with.
Yes.
I'll tell you, my own personal story was my wife I was very reluctant in doing so, but she drugged me out many years, probably 6-7 years ago, to my very first CrossFit class.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, a class routine type of a workout doesn't sound fun to me at all. Sounds like a dance class, I was like, nope, I don't think that's going to work for me.
Right.
And it's, so I went to this very, very much thinking this is going to be stupid. And I'll tell you again, now it's 6-7 years later, and these are really hard exercise routines. And I got to tell you, it's like, I really enjoy it. I enjoy the people I work out with.
Right.
I enjoy how it makes me feel, even on those workouts that trash me. It's like, I really do.
It's funny you say that, because I would attribute both Dr. Allen, up until about a year or so ago, I worked out at the same CrossFit gym as Dr. Allen, and I would attribute that same experience, that same, I had a friend of mine who drugged me to it, and he's like, you got to try it. And I, like so many other people, thought of it as a cult and all that stuff. CrossFit's a cult and all that. But after being exposed to the community, that was a big part of it for me as well. The social element of it, of being there with friends, people that I enjoyed being around, laughing and joking. I am not terribly competitive by nature in terms of sports. I'm just not. That doesn't drive me. But the social element of it, of being involved with good people and the structure of it, such that I didn't have to exert a whole lot of mental energy. I just show up and just get yourself there and follow the routine. That was powerful for me, and I attribute that to a lot of positive changes that I made with my health over the years, and I attribute that still to this day to a lot of my workout routines that I do on my own now. I model largely after things I've learned from there, and just the model that I know works for me.
Sure.
And so, and I would ask you, so you've been doing it, what, 6-7 years?
Yeah, I think so.
And on average, how many times a week would you say over the past 6? And I know there's been periods where you're more consistent, less consistent, but all in all, when all is said and done, what would you say?
Probably at least 3 times a week, usually 4.
Yeah, 3 to 4 times a week. So, I mean, again, that's the powerful thing about this that we try and teach. Again, one of our 5 fundamentals of health is simplicity and consistency, right? It's that consistency that makes all the difference in the world. And that's the thing that I would say over the past 3 to 4 years, I have been more consistent. There have been many times in my life where I have done exercise for a period of time.
Sure.
Many times. I remember when I was back in college, I had several times where I would go for a month or 2, and I would get in this routine and I would do it, and then I would stop for months and months, and sometimes longer than that. And it wasn't until, for me, CrossFit, something clicked in terms of that consistency that did it for me and helped me. And since then, I would say I've probably been fairly close to that as well. I've had a couple periods of time, brief periods, where I've been, not as active and engaged with my exercise routine. But now, and again, just looking at it collectively over the past few years, yeah, I'd say I'm probably around that same ballpark, 3 or 4 times a week. Ballpark.
So all I'm going to say is keep your mind open. Honestly, a good, healthy mind is going to allow us to do way more and enjoy way more of this life than if we don't have a healthy mind.
Yeah.
In fact, one of our upcoming sessions of this here, episodes, sorry, I was looking for the word.
You need some more exercise, man.
Apparently. It's been a long day. Anyways, is literally kind of talking about the very thing of, exercise, and then basically just how it's going to continue to help us and bless, so we're not getting old and being miserable as we get older, that we're actually getting old with grace is kind of what we're going to be talking about. So
no, that's a great point. No, I absolutely, the one thing that I would say that people need to understand is exercise. You said something really important there, that we need to exercise for enjoyment, not necessarily preventing something we're fearful of. You need to shift the conversation so it's something you enjoy. So anyways, hopefully this has been valuable for you guys, and hope you got a lot out of it, and we'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Health Fundamentals Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so that you stay in the loop and in the know with all of the cutting-edge health information that we share. If you know other people that could benefit from this information, please share it with them as well. Also, be sure to give us a review. These really help us to ultimately help more people. Last but not least, if you have questions that you want answered live on the show, or if you have ideas for topics that you would like us to cover, please shoot us an email and let us know at info@thehealthfundamentals.com.